YouTube fan community, Beach Boys fans, random people on the internet. My name is Giggens, and we're here today to do a video where I answer your Beach Boys questions. A couple days ago, I made a video that said, hey, ask me your Beach Boys questions. Well, today, we're going to answer your Beach Boys questions. And I say we as if there's a staff of people here, all my crew and filmographers and people with big scripts that I read are standing nearby. But what I wanted to do, the response was a bit overwhelming. I did not realize there'd be that many questions coming in. So thank you, number one, for writing a question, and thank you for wanting to pick my brain, and thank you for sharing your stories. Some of these questions are absolutely fantastic. Actually, a lot of them are. But there are a lot to answer, so I'm going to break this up into a couple of videos. But what I decided to do was to make it completely random. And I'm not going to just read through as a list of this person, then this person. I've got it pulled up on my phone here, so I'm literally just going to go and pick one and answer it. Because I thought that might be a little bit more fair instead of picking out a handful of people and be like, haha, you guys didn't get picked. But, so, as of this video being made, the most recent comment is from Stephanie Hayner. And Stephanie says, why haven't you reviewed Pet Sounds or Smile? Great question, Stephanie. I haven't reviewed Pet Sounds because it's been done to death. That album has had a voice for a very long time, and it's very important to a ton of people, including myself. I still think it's one of the greatest pieces of work ever made. But this is one of the reasons why I got so heavily involved in doing this channel, was to let other albums have a chance. When you jump on YouTube, or at the time when I started doing a lot of this stuff, every Beach Boys review was for Pet Sounds. Every single video. You go online, that's the album that pops up all the time. If you look at someone's record collection, they probably have Endless Summer, and they probably have the one other album that's not that, which is probably Pet Sounds. I'm not knocking the album at all. I love it. I really do. But it's extremely low on my list of things to review. Just because it's got such a voice. There's books about it, there's pages on the internet, there's already a ton of videos, it's been reviewed. Granted, you guys might be interested to see my comments on it, which I understand. I will review it at some point, but it is, I'm going to review Stars and Stripes first before I review Pet Sounds. Smile, yeah, that's on my list, I'll get that done for sure. Also a little bit lower on my list, because that's also been written about so much. Especially in the last 4 or 5 years, or whenever the Smile box set came out. 9 years ago? Time flies, man. I have no idea. Alright, here we go. Bang! Randall Kennedy says, most underplayed Beach Boys singles. The Little Girl Once Knew, and Add Some Music to Your Day. I wish they had Jan and Dean instead of Evil Mike. Weird his last name is Love. Wasn't really a question, but thank you, Randall. Yeah, I love The Little Girl Once Knew and Add Some Music. Those are fantastic songs. Cool. All right. Here we go. Raymond Gill. Hey, Raymond. The tricky question is this. Which is really the Beach Boys? A, Brian Wilson, Al Jardine, the wonderful Blondie Chaplin, or Mike Love and the guy who replaced Glenn Campbell when he stopped filling in for Brian Wilson. That's really funny how you wrote that, Raymond. Okay. What I like about the Beach Boys is that you have variety. You have a choice. You have a lot to choose from. I like that there's two camps. I know it makes things messy, but I like that there's both versions. I like that you can go out and see Brian, Al, and Blondie do a fantastic show where they dig a little bit deeper into the catalog, but still play the hits. And then give a space for Blondie to really show, and then let Al sing Help Me Rhonda. This is really cool. The great thing about the Bruce and Mike show, is that you get straight up non-stop hits for 2 hours. And I gotta give them credit. They do have a really tight band right now. And they sound great, and they really are there to provide that magical energy of, wow, I'm in a Beach Boys concert. This sounds like something my parents, my grandparents, my great-grandparents would have listened to in the 60s. This is a part for me. So I really enjoy that. I like that element there. So I like them both. Can't really pick one. Here we are. Tyson Webb. Tyson, hey man. Tyson says, hey Giggens, Smiley Smile, Smile Sessions, or Brian Wilson Presents Smile. Which do you prefer and why? Well, I like all three of them. I got into Smiley Smile when I was in high school. I got the 2 first CD with Wild Honey on it. And that album just blew my mind the first time I heard it. I vividly remember listening to that record, or CD. And it was winter at the time that I got it. And I remember I just turned like 17. Or I was 8. I don't remember how old I was. But I just remember hearing it and being like, wow, this is the Beach Boys. This is so weird. Because I was like really getting into psychedelic music at that point. And this fell right into that category. Hearing Little Pad for the first time, I was like, these guys are baked off their asses. Smile Sessions is unbelievable because you get to hear everything in such a cohesive document. I mean, we've had Smile bootlegs since the 70s at this point. So it's been around for a long time. So it wasn't like new for me to hear it, but it was really cool to have like a package that houses Smile inside it. Like that was really cool. And then Brian Wilson Presents Smile. I saw him on that tour. I bought that CD when it first came out in 2004, I think is when it came out. And I saw him on tour in the summer of 2005 doing Smile. And it was just absolutely mind-blowing because that was the first time I was introduced to his band at that point. His band was a knockout back then. And they still are, but they were just fantastic. And they played the whole album. They played, actually, I have, let me see if I can move this. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I made my own poster when I was that age, whatever age I was. But I cut out the newspaper ad from the concert because they posted the set list. And then I printed off a bunch of pictures. I put my ticket there, and I made a little Smile banner. And I've had that hanging up since I was 17, something like that. So yeah, I've got a really big spot in my heart for Brian Wilson Presents Smile. So I like all versions. Because at the time when that came out, that was the only complete version of Smile that was like legit. There was an ending to it, you know, like there was an actual concrete close the book on it, you know. We were all happy for Brian. We were stoked for him. We were proud of him for getting through it and pushing through it. And the reception was so big. It was like album of the year or something. It was a big, cool time for Brian and Smile. So each generation has its own merits and its strengths, and I love all three. I can't pick one. I wish I could, but I really enjoy all of them. I'm just going to pick right down. So Magic Believer 66. Nice Love and Spoonful there. I like that. When did you first get into the Beach Boys? I got into the Beach Boys when I was a kid. I was about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old. I got into them through a cassette tape called Monk Rock. It was the Chipmunks doing 60s stuff, and they sang California Girls. And that was my introduction, was the Chipmunks doing California Girls. And then I think it was my brother showed me the cassette that my mom had of Endless Summer, and then we just played the hell out of that tape. I mean, just, whew. Endless Summer got a lot of play when we were kids. But, and I've been a fan ever since. So, there you go. Here we go. Scrolling. Ba-bam. Toaster 2, I like that name. Toaster 2 says, have you ever been to a Beach Boys concert? Yes, I have. I saw them on the reunion tour in 2012 for That's What Got Me in the Radio, and I saw Brian solo in 2005. When and where did you hear the Beach Boys for the first time? What were your emotions, thoughts, and what song was that? Which album by the Beach Boys did you first buy? Well, I just answered that. I was a kid, heard the Beach Boys through the Chipmunks. So California Girls was probably the first Beach Boys song I ever knew. Which album did you first buy from the Beach Boys? Well, the first one I ever got, I think, was the Good Vibrations 20 hits from 1995. I think that was the first tape I ever got. And then I got the Do It Again cassette, which was like another favorite of mine for a very long time. But the first actual album I bought by them was Pet Sounds. I think when I was in 6th grade, I got the CD of Pet Sounds at this really cool record shop back home that I don't think exists anymore. Where are we on time? We're almost at 10 minutes. All right, I'll do a couple more questions here. I'm getting long-winded. It's easy for me to do with this stuff. All right. Ba-bam! Roy Johnson says, Giggens, I always find your Beach Boys album reviews interesting. particularly how you put them in a historical perspective. Thank you. I also can't read, but thank you. My questions would be, which studio album would be the best to play for a non-fan to show they are more than a golden oldies band? That's a fantastic question. So for that one, a great introduction album, I would go with, like, my first gut instinct was to say Beach Boys Today, but I'd honestly show them something a little bit weirder. I'd show them like Wild Honey. Yeah, Wild Honey's a great introduction album if you ask me. Um, because that one definitely covers, like, it's still got that fun sound, but it's got some deeper stuff. It's got some interesting chord changes. There's some depth to that album, but it's also a really fun record at the same time. I'm gonna say Wild Honey. Your second question was, what are your top 5 Desert Island Beach Boys studio albums? That's really hard to answer because I like a lot of them. But if I just had to pick 5 off the top of my head, Sunflower, Friends, Love You, Wild Honey, and what's the 5th one gonna be? Yeah, Pet Sounds. Last question he had here was, this is a bit of a cheat, but if you were to use the commercially released live concert tracks, what would you put into a playlist for a concert retrospective, 25 songs? Oh, that's a long question, man. I'll write that one in the comment response, but that's a hell of a long question. And let's do another one here. Emily Graziano. Emily, how's it going? You comment on my videos a lot. I see your name there. She says, hey Giggs, some of my questions and my own answers to my questions. I like that. Awesome. Favorite 1970s album? She said Sunflower. Ooh, I think I join you on that one. I think Sunflower would be my pick too. Best slow song or ballad? She said Forever. Yeah, that's up there. I'd also put The Night Was So Young. Not really a ballad, but it's definitely a slower song. Have you met any of the members? She said no. I got close. When I saw Brian doing the Smile tour, we were walking through the lobby of this of the theater we saw him at, and there was this group of security guards in a circle walking towards my brother and I, and we were both kind of like, what the heck is that? And they got really, really close to us, and I don't know where they were walking to, because this was like just in the middle of the place where you could buy hot dogs and get your t-shirts and stuff, so it wasn't like expected to see a celebrity there, and we were just hanging out. And all of a sudden, we look inside the middle of this guarded circle, and it was Brian and Melinda. And we're like, holy crap, like, that's Brian Wilson. He was like 7 feet away from me. And the first thing I thought of was, that's the guy from the Sandbox. That's the guy who wrote Surf's Up on a piano in a sandbox in 1966. That's the guy. I'm right in front of him. It just blew my mind. It was a very Sonder-like experience. To be like, wow, like, that's the guy. That guy wrote Surfin' Safari. That guy wrote Pet Sounds. Like, whoa, it was pretty heavy. And my brother, very cheekily of himself, went, Brian! And at that time, Brian had just started touring. This was only 3 or 4 years in. And I was like, oh my God, you're going to freak him out. Like, he's not going to want to play the show now. Now he's all worried, Obviously, he played a great show. It was awesome. How many concerts have you been to? I answered that one. I saw the Beach Boys in 2012 and then Brian solo. First Beach Boys song you heard? Yep, California Girls. She said Surfin' Safari. That's cool. And then I'll end with this one because the video's getting long here. So, what are your hopes for the band's future? That's a great question. And she says a 60th anniversary show, even if it's just televised or streamed, one final show together. That's a fantastic idea, Emily. I really enjoy that. It's sad because Brian has talked about for years wanting to do like a rock and roll record with the Beach Boys, and it kind of became his album, No Peer Pressure, kind of. So, yeah, I agree. I'd love to see them do at least one more concert as a group before they get, let's face it, they're getting older. They're not going to be around forever, and I think it'd be a great bookend for them to be like, hey, we started here, let's end here as a group, and I'm pretty sure Mike and Bruce would be cool with that. Here's the thing, and I'll go on a very quick tangent here. As I've read over the years, Brian and Mike get along with each other. It's when outside forces influence them that makes things really difficult for them to just be themselves. But when it's just the two of them, they're able to enjoy each other's company and just hang out and just be family with each other. When other people get involved, they keep putting their hands in the pot, that's where it sounds like it gets messy. So, for that, I'd like to see them just work with themselves. Let's put them in a room, put a piano in there, put Brian on the piano, have the guys stand around and sing. And if they just did like 45 minutes of that, just singing with a piano, hands down, best way to end the Beach Boys. Or, promote another anniversary, if you will. So, all right, so that's end of part one. I'm going to do another part two coming up. Actually, I'll film it right now. I'll post it a couple days from now. Thank you so much for these questions. These are so much fun to answer, and I really hope you enjoyed watching this, and stay tuned for part two. But if you've got more questions, obviously the video is still up, so feel free to answer or comment on this one if you want to. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Giggens. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.